Hi and welcome to the C Sharp training. I'm Jerry, and we're going to learn some C Sharp. So let's just start. First of all, we're going to be using Visual Studio 2013. So this is Visual Studio 2013, and if you want to follow what I'm doing here, you can download it from Microsoft for free. So just type like Visual Studio Express for Windows Desktop download, and currently this website looks like this more or less. Yeah, if you scroll down a bit, and you'll find this Visual Studio 2013, and then you could go on either download the web installer, which is really small, but then the install program will actually download everything that needs to be downloaded, or you can download an ISO and then burn a CD so that you can install it anytime you want. So yeah, that's how you get Visual Studio. Um, yeah. Okay, so we started Visual Studio, yeah, and we want to learn some C Sharp. Uh, this will be a basic training that might actually help you get to know any programming actually, but we'll be doing this in C Sharp. C Sharp is an object-oriented language, and we should note that. But we will deal with the object-orientedness a bit later. So first, we'll just get along and figure the basics of just any programming language, which C sharp actually is, right? And before we jump into straight programming, I want to show you how to work with Visual Studio and the most common features that you'll need. So when you start Visual Studio, you'll see this start page, and most of it I don't use much because there's a couple of links and stuff that well I'm not really some announcements. You can get to know that there are some cool features that were added to something. So if you're interested in that, then you might click those and read. But the most interesting part is on the left. So there is like the new project and the open project. So these two you will use quite a lot. And then you also have the recent, and here in the recent I have the CS training, um, which is actually I started recording this and then I got to know that there is no sound, so uh, I had to remove it, but I have a copy of this somewhere else. But in the recent, you'll see all the projects that you either created, so all the new projects, or you opened, because you can either download a project from somewhere, or you can just continue someone else's work, and then you just open a project, and then it will be somewhere here in your recents. So before I'll start clicking these, I'll click the recent, and here you can see that okay, you can open this project, you can open the containing folder, and of course you can remove it from this list, right? Because maybe you just want to have a few projects that you're currently working on, and then the rest of the projects you don't want to see them here because you don't, right? If I click open project, then Visual Studio will get to know that either the project was moved or something happened to it because it's not there anymore. Yeah. But I don't want to remove it from my recents yet. I'll also try to open the containing folder, and the same thing actually happens. Yeah. So okay, so I can manually remove it from the list, but we'll probably we'll create a new project and then we'll see it in the recents, and I'll show you that you can open the projects from here and then see all the files and open the containing folder. Okay, so I'll just remove that from here. So I'll click the new project, and here you have a dialog that will allow you to create a new project. And as you can see, you can program in 3 different languages, so Visual Basic, C Sharp, C++. But this is a C Sharp training, so we will be using C Sharp. And just to learn the basics, we'll use a simple console application. Come on. A console application looks more or less like this. So it's just a black screen with text on it. And that will be enough for us to learn the basics. So we'll be just printing some text, doing some mathematical operations, maybe something more. Yeah, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, so we're creating our new project. Our project needs to have a name. Let's just call this CS Training, as I did before. Yep. And well, I already have this folder created. You need to place your projects somewhere where you can find them, and where, well, you just need to have your files organized. So I created on my C drive this folder called CS Training Source. So I'll put all the source codes here, and well, then I can go back to them if I want them, or copy the whole folder and send it to someone, for example. Yeah. Okay, so this is one thing, and of course Visual Studio by default creates a default folder for you, and it will show here more or less. I think it will be like your users folder, and then there is this Visual Studio folder. Oh yeah, documents, and then Visual Studio folder, and then projects. So it will be something like this. So yeah, in your documents, Visual Studio 2013, and then projects, and then there'll be like something like this. So yeah, it's a big long path, and yeah, I like shorter paths, and I like to know where are my files. So yeah. Okay, and the last thing here is the solution name. You can see it's the same as our project. But okay, what's the difference between the solution and the project? Well, the solution is just a bigger container that holds a whole bunch of projects. I mean, currently it will hold only one, but it can hold as many as you like, right? And sometimes you want to start a project. For example, you create an application, and you know that it will consist of the user interface, and some configuration application, and some service application that will collect information from files, multiple systems, and so on. I like to call them updaters, right? So, but the whole solution, or whole, well, the package of those 3 applications will have a common name, and then each of these projects will have a different name. You might do that, right? I'll keep that as CS Training, and this project will be called just CS Training, because we're going to learn only the basics of, oh, just now we'll be learning how to work with Visual Studio only. Okay, now you have 2 checkboxes here. One is create a directory for solution. Now you can see that this folder here, the CS Training Source, is actually empty, and I can show you here that it's actually empty. It doesn't contain any files. And when we check this tick box, then there will be a folder created for our solution, so that whenever we add projects to it, new projects, then we will have them within that that folder that we chose. The second checkbox is well, it's quite cool. We're not going to talk about source control for a bit now, so it's just a simple information for you. Source control allows you to do versioning and being able to go back to a certain point in time where you had a different code. So but it requires additional software, additional servers or stuff. So we're not going to use source control now, but maybe I'll at some point give a training about source control and versioning. Okay, so let's click OK. So we're creating a console application named, console application project. The project is named CS Training. It will be placed in a folder that we prepared for this. Yeah, and it will be held in a solution called the same name, so CS Training. Let's click OK, and Visual Studio will create that solution for us. Great. Okay. So we're not going to be dealing with this file yet, because I want to show you how the whole environment works first. And by default, when you start Visual Studio, you'll have a whole bunch of additional windowses and toolboxes and pop-ups. I removed all of them just because, well, first of all, I'd like you to focus on a certain thing and so that you don't have to wander around with your eyes and see that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't understand. And the second of all, well, you can actually close all those windows with the X button, and then if you close it and you want to use it, you might find yourself like, okay, I can't find where to actually bring this back because I closed it and I don't have it, and my Visual Studio already remembered that I closed it and now it's gone. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to show you a couple of common ones that you might want to have. And the first one is the Solution Explorer. So if you go to the view, you might want to see the Solution Explorer, and this is actually one of those tools, one of those windows or pop-ups, call it whatever you like. It allows you to actually browse your project and browse your solution. So you'll be able to see what files are in there and some additional things. Now we'll fold this project for now, and we'll just look at the solution and what we can do with the solution. So first of all, well, we can right click it and then we'll do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to explain only a few ones because, well, there is a couple of settings here and this training would be like ages long. So the two most important is just build solution and rebuild solution, which actually just compiles all your codes within all the projects that are in the solution, and then creates binaries, so exe files that are executable, and you can then run the applications, right? So build solution only like builds the solution if there were any changes and if it is necessary. Rebuild solution always builds it from scratch, and it takes a bit longer, but I actually tend to use the rebuild solution a bit more often because, well, I feel like I'm getting a fresh thing, and sometimes it's actually something gets messed up, and rebuilding the whole solution actually works better. So these two are quite important, and you can actually do them from the build button as well. So if you click build, and you can see there are these two here as well. And as you can see, there is this F7 and Control Alt F7 key shortcuts. So yeah, and this actually changes from Visual Studio to Visual Studio. So I think in 2010 this was like F6, right? But well, you get used to some versions, and so you should actually check your version and see what shortcuts you should use to build solutions and so on. Okay, now the second option that I want you to know is how to add additional projects or add existing projects, because as I said, you might have a solution or you might want to add an additional project to your solution. So reuse some parts of someone else's project, or maybe reuse a part of your own project. So you might want to add an existing project, or you want to just create a new project. As I said, you build a bigger group of applications, or well, you build an application that will be consisting of different parts, different smaller applications. So you might want to add additional projects to your solution, right? So we'll just click new project here, just to show you that what options you have. And the first thing you might notice is the solution part on the bottom disappeared, and the rest is well, it's more or less the same. We don't have the checkboxes, right? So those are the differences here. And of course, we can set the project name, and I'll just call it second project. Yeah, second project. And I'll put that project in the same location as our solution. And as you can see, Visual Studio created that folder for us, because we started with this folder, and this folder, CS Training, has been created for us as our solution folder. Now we can open it with Windows Explorer. Okay, and you can see, okay, this is the solution folder. There are solution files, and then we will have additional folders for each project we create. So I'll keep the same folder for the second project. It will be still a console application, so don't worry, nothing fancy. Yeah, we'll close that file because, well, we don't want it yet. And then if we get back the Explorer, and you can see the second project folder has been created, and some files were created for us as well. So that's more or less the structure. We'll be talking about file structure well, a bit later. Yeah, we'll try to first focus on working with just Visual Studio, and with just the basics of working with Visual Studio. Now, the second quite important thing about the Solution Explorer is that whenever you're debugging your programs, or you're running the program from within Visual Studio, and you want to actually try to work with your application, I mean, you want to try your code. Oh, that's a good word. Yeah, you want to try your code. Then Visual Studio works with one single project. It needs to know which project to start. I call it an active project, but actually it's called a startup project. And the startup project is always highlighted like in bold, right? So our first project is now the current startup project, and the second and all the other projects that we would add here are not yet startup, so they are not active. So when we start our application, only this one will run. To change that, you can right-click the project, and then find the command set as startup project. And then the project you chose will become the startup project and will be bold as well. Okay, so this is about more or less projects and solutions. Now we have a couple of things that we might be able to, we can set up for a project in particular. And I want you to actually be able to know that. One of those things, and yeah, okay, before we do that, I'm going to show you a few things that you can do with those windows, because this one is actually currently a floating window, but it would be a bit hard to program if your window would be there and it's like always on top. So yeah, it just hides your whole code, and it's a bit bugging, right? But you can see that whenever I click and drag this window, you can see those markers, and these markers tell you that you can dock this window to either side and so on. So the marker in the middle actually allows you to do that, that docking, having to move your mouse not too much, because sometimes your screen might be really big and then moving to those markers might be a bit hard, right? So this button is actually the same as this button is the same as this, and so on and so on and so on. And what it does is just like, well, docks. As you can see, the blue frame when I release my mouse button, and this gets docked there. But it won't hide by default, I think. To make it hide, you have this pin here. It's called Alter Hide. And if you click it, Alter Hide, then you'll see this smaller version of this, like a, maybe I should call it a tab. I think it's a tab. Yeah, and then you can just click it to actually do something with the solution or your projects. And then if you click back, then it disappears, right? And of course you can get this out of here and then put it anywhere you want, for example here, right? Or if you have two monitors, and you can combine these Windowses, and well, in a few I don't know, well, soon we'll have more of these, and I like to combine them and then have them on my second monitor, and that's a bit I don't know, well, for me it's easier to work with, but you can still go on with docking these Windowses. I don't care what suits you, right? Whatever suits you. Okay, so yeah, we'll close this file and we'll get our Solution Explorer, because for now it's really important for us to actually have it visible all the time. Okay, so I said I want you to know a few things about the project itself and how you can configure it. So a lot of things that you can configure in a project is within its properties. So if you right click a project and then go to its properties, and a nice thing will actually show, and now we'll actually dock this and leave it there, maybe. So we have the first thing is our application, and we have two things. We have the assembly name, and the assembly name is more or less well, the name of the program, more or less. So in theory, this will be, of course, the first name of our exe file that will be created whenever we start our application. But also, maybe let's quickly compile this. So I'll just build the solution. Here's the second one. And this is the output, and I think, yeah, I think it succeeded everything. Okay, so we've built our solution, and now let's go to our solution. Yeah, and we've built both, so we shouldn't care about which one we actually do. I've built the debug, so it's built, and I said the exe file will be called whatever we say here, but also because I can rename this exe file, and I can say like my cool file, right? And well, now it's not called CS Training, but still somewhere in the properties, details, and yeah, if you go here in this file description, there is this is actually the assembly name, and here is the original file name, and so on. And in multiple places, for example, in the task manager, you'll still see, like here, the name of the application. So that's the true name of the application, because the exe file might be called whatever someone actually wished to have, right? And training test. Let's just change it, save it, rebuild the solution, right? And go back to this thing, and see here it now is called test. And if I go to properties and its details, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Because the file description is still CS training. Okay. Uh. Oh. Yep. Because that's here. Okay. Yeah. So we could put this here. Yeah. So I hope it's here. Let's build it. Oh, maybe I didn't rebuild it. So now I changed two things, and probably one of them probably did it. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. Now let's see which one did it, because I'm actually curious. Um, okay, and I'll rebuild it. Okay. Where are you? Where are you? Come on. Okay, yeah, we're here. Mm-hmm. Properties. Yes. Okay, yeah. So this is actually changed. Uh, yeah, I'm showing you too many things. Okay, don't worry. So yeah, this is just the exe file name. But yeah, okay, I'm getting too much detail. But you can actually make your application name and make it multiple words. I mean, the CS training uh, app, whatever. Yeah, like this. We'll we'll not get into more details in all this stuff below, but here you can actually do a lot of stuff about this current application. Let's just build it one more time so that you can see what I meant. So now when we get this exe, I made this only CS training, so that's this exe file now. And yeah, the CS training app. Okay, so maybe that is really confusing, but you don't really have to know this. But if you really want to make your application have a nice, cool name, and then a name that will actually show up somewhere here in the details with this like Windows Audio Device Graph Isolation, which has the exe file called audio or something like that. Yeah, then you can do it here, right? The more important actually piece, and this is way more important, is the default namespace. And we're going to talk about that later on when we actually start programming. But just remember that the default namespace is here in the project properties in the first tab, application. Now there is a build tab. You can define a lot of things that you can set up a lot of things about building your application here. What is most important, I think, here is this drop down here. And this drop down here, of course. Yeah, because here you choose which build scenario you want to choose. And of course, you can just say like, okay, I want to configure all scenarios. So whatever configuration, and there are currently two. These are the build configurations, so debug and release, and that's like usually the default configuration. And unless you really want to have different configurations, then you should have only these two. But here you can configure that, and one of the most important ones is at some points when you use some libraries that are made only for like 32-bit computers, then sometimes you have to actually set this just for the application to run and then finally when you build it, then you can set it up to any CPU, and it will actually work with the different libraries that you supply it with. Depends on actually your setup. Sometimes it's, well, usually you won't get here too often. um, Build events, if you know anything about the command line and batch files, and you can actually have some actions before the before Visual Studio starts building your program, and then you have the events, the command lines that you want to run after Visual Studio uh, builds your application. Uh, I never did that, but in one of my applications, I needed to actually copy the files of the application to a certain amount of places just to release these applications, and then I have this startup file as well, uh, and I have to edit that startup file. So I was thinking maybe I can actually put a batch job here that will actually do that for me. But, well, I didn't have time and I never did that. So, yeah, but here you can actually do that. Now, the most important one, the debug section. It's not too big, but it does really serve well because you can put command line arguments here. And this is really useful if you are building applications or programs that require some parameters to pass to them from the command line, and you want to test them. I've seen a lot of people doing that, so that they have an application that requires command line parameters, but in code they actually have these set, so they actually comment out all the checkings of those command line parameters, everything, and they set up the command line parameters by themselves or something like that. It's not how it's meant to be done. Here you have the command line parameters, so yeah, please use them. And now we'll just skip through some of these. One that is also really commonly used is the settings. And here you'll actually have, well, you'll have a lot of things. So you'll have everything that are your application settings. But what is most important is when you'll start connecting to databases and you want to keep your connection strings within your application settings, then these connection strings will actually appear here. So this is important. But we'll 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 have we'll see multiple ways of connecting to a database. So you'll be the one to choose which way you like most, and depending on that, you'll either have your connection strings here or not. Okay, so this is more or less it on project properties, and now yeah, and some of those properties are actually here in this file. So these assembly info. So yeah, and the last thing about the project that I want you to know is how references work, because we'll be working with references at some point. And well, I'm not going to describe what are these here, but I just want you to know that you to be able to actually program and use multiple tools, sometimes tools that you get from the internet and so on, you need to be able to somehow attach those tools to your programs, and then in your code you'll be using those tools. Now, doing so is actually referencing these tools, and references are actually just well, like links to those tools. So or this is information for the compiler for Visual Studio that you are actually using a certain tool. Uh, Usually these come in DLLs. So each such tool, if I go properties and I'll get the properties window here. Yeah, each such tool, yeah, is a DLL file, right? Here you have information about that this is a DLL file, right? Yeah, so you should know that you can see all references here. And, well, okay, how do you add references? Well, you just right-click references, and you say add reference, right? And then you have a couple of things here. Let's start with the top one, so assemblies. And depending on your target framework, you'll have some references. Here, my project is .NET Framework 4.5. We'll be using a bit lower version, the 4.0. Just for the purpose of this training, but if all your users that will be using your application will have 4.5, then you can go on working with 4.5. Not all my users have 4.5, so I'm stuck with 4.0 currently. Yeah, so here you have all these are called libraries that you can actually reference in your program, and those that are already references, see system XML right here, and XML link here, right, and then core data and data set extensions, core data, data set extensions, right, and you have system, yeah, and Microsoft C#, which is here, and nothing else currently, right? But you can just click it, like, okay, let's reference this one, right? And then if you click it and then click OK, it will get referenced. And you have like well, some extensions to the framework. And then if you use something more often, then you'll have it here. What is cool from the whole framework, if someone tells you, okay, you should be referencing this or that or something, and you can use the search function. For example, lately I needed to reference system drawing, so you can just go like, okay, system drawing, yeah, it's a DRA, D-R-A, yeah, and then I can reference system drawing, for example, right? Now, second of all, you can reference other projects in your solution. So you can say like, okay, I have some tools here I want to use in this project, right? So in my different project, maybe I actually created a whole bunch of tools that I commonly use, and I want to reuse them. So we can just have that project attached, or just like as I said, add existing project, right? And then we can use those tools from that project, right? So we can reference that project. So we can say, okay, I'm referencing this project, yeah. And there are a lot of COM libraries. For example, might be Microsoft Excel or something like that. These are, or Interrupt Excel actually, yeah. So there's a whole bunch of those. For example, can we find Excel here somewhere? Please, Microsoft. Okay, we have PowerPoint, and we have Outlook. Okay, yeah. So these are COM libraries. Not going into details what are COM libraries. It's just a different kind of library. Yeah, and then finally you can just say like, okay, maybe Visual Studio couldn't find your library, and I have 2 of them here I recently used, but you can just click the browse, right? And by default in the beginning you won't have anything here, but you can click the browse button and then find a library that you want to reference, so you want to use in your project, and then you can just click the DLL and say add, right? Add. And this actually got to know that I want to use the OpenTK DLL, which is a library, Open Toolkit. It's called here. Yeah, yeah. You can just Google it and get to know us that. Yeah, yeah. So that's all about references, more or less. Okay, maybe one more thing. Let's just add this Open Toolkit. Yeah, let's add this Open Toolkit. So, okay, I have this referenced here now, but when I'll try to use it, then I will be able to use everything, all the tools in code that this library allows me to use. But when I run my code, I'll get some errors because actually because this library is stored within a DLL file, and I need to ship this DLL, so I need to copy this DLL wherever my executable, my exe file resides. So not only I need my exe file and my code and my reference to some tool that I got either from the internet or from my friend, but also I need that tool, so that DLL, along with my exe file, so that my exe file can find this tool and use it, right? So usually what I do is I also say add, right clicking the project. I say add existing item, and I find that DLL, right, and then ship it with my code. So binaries, OpenTK. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Yeah. We click this one. I ship it with my code. And additional thing that I do is I right-click this file and then change its properties. And I usually do one thing is okay, I copy this file only if it is newer. So I copy it to my exe file whenever it's being built, and then in the build action, because this is just a file that's already been created, compiled, and done, so Visual Studio doesn't need to do anything with this file, so it doesn't need to build it or nothing. So I always set this to none. So whenever I get a new version of this OpenTK, then maybe I add it to my project, and then it will probably get newer, and then it gets copied. If not, then it just stays there, right? So that's one thing. Except just adding references is okay if you want to reference something, and this is something that is external, and you might need to add a DLL. For the ones that are just .NET Framework specific, so those that are just standard .NET libraries, let me just say, usually you don't have to, but sometimes you'll have to. I'm not sure why, but usually it's okay. Someone just has his .NET Framework installed incorrectly, and some people just put all the DLL files they can within their exe folder, so that if at some point some users installation on their computer, the .NET installation gets messed up, then maybe the application will still work because it has all the required DLL files. Yeah. So this is more or less it on getting along with Visual Studio, and I'm going to wrap up this video, and in the next video we'll start to program a bit. So thank you for watching, and have a good day. See ya.